What up, everybody? What up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of AC Reviews the World. I am your host, AC the Engineer, and we are at episode 199. Yes, 199. Now, are we going to do something special for 200? Probably not, but we're just going to, might do an extra long show. But it is 199. We are here. Welcome to the greatest afternoon show in the world. Welcome back. Now, this is a show where we meet Monday through Friday, usually Monday through Friday. I know I missed yesterday, but Monday through Friday starting at 6 o'clock, where we go over 4 or 5 topics of just things that I found that we need to review together. Now, the purpose of this show is for us to have a discussion because that's what's wrong with the world now. People are afraid to talk about this type of stuff. But so if you ever hear anything that you disagree with what I said, please let's have a discussion about it. Leave a comment. Let's talk about it. The world's a crazy place and we have to review this place together. Now, if you enjoy this content, please, all you need to do, that's all you got to do to show your support is always just hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you can be up to date on all the videos. But today is like no other. We got to do it. We got to jump right into it. Let's jump right into it. The first topic we're discussing today, y'all, is we are finally getting ready to go over to the Karmelo Anthony trial. Now, if you were living under a rock or didn't hear about this situation, this is Karmelo Anthony, where he is on trial right now for first-degree murder. Now, this is the 18-year-old kid, black kid, who ended up stabbing the 17-year-old student-athlete Austin Metcalf. Now, this whole incident took place back in April 2nd, 2025 at a high school track meet. Now, some people are saying that he deserved what he got. Some people are saying that this was way too out of proportion. But let's get over into this. They are now starting the jury trial, so we're going to start with that. And then, how is his self-defense going to hold up? That's the whole thing that he's going to go with. He's saying self-defense. So how is that going to hold up? So let's jump over into these videos, and then, of course, we'll go over into the AI breakdown just to find out a little bit more information. But let's jump into it, y'all.
One of the most high-profile murder trials North Texas has seen in years begins tomorrow in Collin County. 18-year-old Karmelo Anthony faces a first-degree murder charge connected to the April 2025 stabbing death of 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a high school track meet in Frisco. Jury selection is set to start first thing tomorrow morning. Tonight, a look back at the case, the fallout, and the legal fight ahead.
It was the kind of story that moved fast, first through Frisco, across North Texas, then nationally.
It took my soul too. I'm so sorry.
A fight under a team tent, a knife, and a 17-year-old student athlete who died in his twin brother's arms.
He was going to turn out to be a great individual.
Austin Metcalf was a student at Frisco's Memorial High School. Police say he was stabbed on April 2nd, 2025, during a district track meet at Kirkendall Stadium. Investigators say Karmelo Anthony, then also 17, was sitting under a tent for a school he did not attend. According to eyewitnesses, Metcalf told him to leave. What happened next will be at the center of this murder trial. Police say Anthony fatally stabbed Metcalf once in the chest. His father, Jeff, expressing his disbelief to Fox 4.
I told him it's not goodbye. It's see you later.
Online, the case exploded. Rumors raced ahead of facts. From jail, Karmelo Anthony claimed self-defense and was held on a $1 million bond. But 12 days after the crime, he was released on house arrest after a judge reduced his bail to $250,000, in part because of his clean record.
Now, let me say something. Now, when we first heard about this case, like they mentioned, a lot of rumors came out. A lot of people were bringing up facts saying like, oh, he was getting jumped. Oh, we don't, and then just making up a bunch of wild stuff that the police have never verified. All we know for sure, or at least all we understand right now, is that some kind of altercation happened. If I understand correct, Austin Metcalf pushed him or put his hands on him, something like that first. And then in a reaction, for some reason, Karmelo Anthony ended up taking out a knife and stabbing him in the chest. Now, I don't know about y'all, But if he would have swung at him, okay, there would have been a fight. That's different. That's understandable. Male testosterone, growing up boys, yeah, I can understand that. But to pull out a knife and stab someone in the chest. Now I don't know how they're gonna prove self-defense, but at the end of the day, I think he needs to go to jail for that. Because I can't make the jump from him pushing you to you stabbing him in the chest. But they might come out with some evidence that we didn't know. But let's keep going into this.
3 days later, a press conference was called on his parents' behalf. They begged the public to turn down the temperature.
I don't know why we're being targeted and discriminated against before a fair trial.
Though the heat would only rise after Austin Metcalf's father showed up to a press conference and was escorted out by Dallas police for not having an invitation. Now, after months of relative quiet, the arguments move from online debate to a Collin County courtroom. Jury selection begins Monday and is expected to last 3 days. Former Dallas County Assistant DA Russell Wilson is not connected to the case, but says finding jurors who have not heard about it or have not formed opinions will be a challenge.
I actually believe you can certainly get somebody who believes that they are unbiased, but whether or not they actually are, you don't necessarily know until the actual case starts unfolding.
The defense is expected to lean hard into self-defense. In Texas, that shifts the burden to the state.
If self-defense is an issue in the case, the state has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that it was not self-defense.
For prosecutors, it may all likely come down to the sequence of events under that tent.
They've got to come in and show, in essence, that the conduct that occurred prior to this incident did not warrant the amount of force that was used.
That is what ultimately matters. How much force did you use in response to a situation? That's what the line that draws self-defense to murder. You can't just, if somebody ends up touching you, end up killing somebody. That's too much. Or we have to understand where that line is. But they're going to test that and see what the jury thinks.
Strict rules are in place. No cameras inside the courtroom. There's also discussion about limiting other electronic devices, all to preserve order and keep the case from turning into a courthouse spectacle.
For the lawyer's perspective, part of it is to try to shut out the noise.
Noise in the court of public opinion about to shift to a real court. So Fox 4 will bring you
absolutely crazy situation. But let's take a look at this next video and do a deep dive into his self-defense. How exactly he's going to prove self-defense.
You cannot stab someone in the chest and kill them because they touch you. I think a lot of what this case is going to come down to is going to remind us of what happened in the O.J. Simpson case. The race card is going to be played here.
A Texas student athlete charged with stabbing a football star from a rival high school to death is set to face trial this week. Karmelo Anthony, then a 17-year-old senior from Frisco Centennial High School, stabbed Frisco Memorial High Schooler Austin Metcalf on April 2, 2025. After Metcalf asked Anthony to leave his team's tent during a track meet, prosecutors have claimed. Witnesses say Anthony told Metcalf, quote, "Touch me and see what happens," while reaching inside his bag before a brief scuffle, in which Anthony stabbed Metcalf in the chest with a knife. Anthony then allegedly fled as Metcalf bled out in his twin brother's arms. The case kicked off a major racial uproar online, with donations pouring in to defend Anthony. A family spokesman said last year that the money would go to, quote, "stand with us in the fight against white supremacy." As Anthony's lawyers say he acted in self-defense, the New York Post spoke with a criminal defense attorney to break down the case.
Hi, my name is Randy Zellin. I am a criminal defense attorney. I have been practicing for 38 years. I am a former prosecutor, and I have been an adjunct professor at Cornell University School of Law.
Now, I've said this several times. It's hard for me to understand just being a defense attorney in general when you have to try to defend someone who does these horrible crimes. But everybody is entitled to a defense. But let's keep going into this.
First of all, when we're talking about justification, self-defense, what I am saying as a defendant is that I had a reasonable belief that someone was going to immediately hurt me. That is justification against ordinary force. Now, up that ante. If I use deadly force on someone, if I kill someone, and my defense is self-defense or justification, the jury has to be not convinced, if you will, by the government that I acted reasonably, that I reasonably believed that I was about to be killed. And as a result of that reasonable belief that I was about to be killed, I killed first. I killed in self-defense. So the first issue I see here, from what we know, this was a verbal altercation where it almost seems like the defendant was provoking the incident himself by allegedly saying, "Touch me and see what happens," as he's reaching into a bag. And then apparently he was touched. Touching someone is not deadly force. You cannot meet deadly force. You cannot stab someone in the chest and kill them because they touch you. They've got to be coming at you with a knife. They've got to be coming at you with a gun. They've got to be coming at you with a metal pipe to split your head open.
Now, let me say, I'm not going to pause it too much, but I'm thinking, at least this is my guess, that educated guess, but basically he's going to use either how he's saying self-defense. He's going to try to say that he feared that he was going to get jumped. That's what I think is going to come out, because a lot of people had speculations on if he was getting jumped, if the twin brother was going to jump in and fight him with him. And that they're going to play on that fact that he was not sure if the brother would jump in or not. So he feared for his life in that account. At least that's my initial thinking, but we never know what will come out. Let's keep going into this.
Can't be justified in killing someone with a knife and stabbing them in the chest if they were not about to immediately use deadly force on you. Then now take the opposite end. We see at the beginning whether or not the defendant was justified, and at the end we see something called consciousness of guilt. The fact that he fled the scene, to me, cuts against a self-defense, a justification defense, because if I acted innocently and I just stabbed someone because I thought they were going to kill me, I don't think I would run. So I don't think that the defendant's sense was reasonable, that he was about to be killed, nor do I think his behavior afterwards is consistent, is equally unreasonable from the standpoint of behaving like someone who is innocent.
Now, I don't know if you can say that for in fact, just because they could the prosecution can say, or the defense attorneys can say, that he just feared for his life still, or he was still scared in that situation, so he decided to flee the situation. He didn't know what was going to happen afterwards. And then that's why he initially came out to the police, or after he ran, and then he came out and found the police himself.
What the defendant was doing with a knife on him, I think, is going to be telling. So you have the absence of the ability to use deadly force versus someone having deadly force immediately on hand at a high school track meet. So unless he was a chef, unless he was a fisherman, what is he doing with a knife that is capable of killing someone with apparently one strike? So that's going to be another hurdle that I see the defense having to overcome. But if we're going to play this case down the middle, I think a lot of what this case is going to come down to is going to remind us of what happened in the O.J. Simpson case. The race card is going to be played here. And I do believe that the defense is going to be looking for a jury that's going to say, I don't know what happened here, and I don't even care what happened here, but I am so tired of white people doing things to black people, and it's the black people that end up on trial, and it's not right and it's not fair. It's something called jury nullification. And I do believe that race has already been and will continue to be a very big issue in this case. It's not fair to the prosecution. I don't think it's fair, quite frankly, to any race where a defendant is playing that card. But as a defense attorney, that ain't my job. My job is to get my client off by any means reasonably and legally necessary.
It's some people immediately after the case, they didn't hear the facts. They immediately said, especially they didn't even hear more of the facts. The only things they heard was that Austin Metcalf touched Anthony, and then Anthony, in response of that, he stabbed him. And some people were saying, oh, well, he should have never touched him in the first place. I don't like to think like that. First of all, if Anthony would have responded and swung at him, I'm understanding of that. People, that's what happens between boys at a young age, especially that's what happens. Kids get into fights. It's going to happen. Civilized fights. Well, it's not civilized, but you know what I'm saying? Hand to hand. But I would never believe it reasonable if it's just a one-on-one altercation to where you just get touched. They didn't say punch. They haven't even specified exactly how he touched him yet. But he got touched, and he pulls out a knife and stabs someone. Now, I don't see how that's reasonable to me. So I don't know if I don't know why other people don't see that and they're only looking at the race card. But let's go over to just a little AI breakdown just to wrap it all up and see if anything else we missed. So as we know, his jury selection began yesterday. As we know, it was an 18-year-old who is facing 5 to 99 years in prison if he is convicted of fatally stabbing the student back in that April 2nd, 2025 altercation. They say there's nearly 600 prospective jurors, and it's going to take place between June 1st and June 3rd. The opening statements will begin Thursday, June 4th, if the 12 jury members is seated on the schedule. The trial is anticipated to last approximately 2 weeks, and the prosecution plans to call more than 30 witnesses. I wonder how many witnesses the defense is going to call, or if they're going to just bank on the fact that he was a scared young kid. But we'll have to wait and see. So as we know, the core things about this argument is the self-defense. Anthony's defense attorney is heavily relying on self-defense argument under Texas law. The defense maintains that Anthony was protecting himself after he put his hands on him. Because Texas law treats 17-year-olds as adults in the criminal system, Anthony was indicted as an adult on first-degree murder in June 2025. Wow. We got to wait to find out more information on this whole situation. But tell me, y'all, what are your thoughts on this situation? Where do you stand on the side? Do you think that he should have never touched him in the first place and he got what he was coming to him? Or are you standing on the same side of my thinking where it's reasonable force? If he would have touched him and swung at him, that's a totally different story. But the fact that you took out a knife and stabbed him, that sounds like murder to me. But let me know your thoughts on your situation, y'all. I don't know everything, so if you have a different viewpoint, let's talk about it, y'all. The world's a crazy place, but we have to review this stuff together. We have to. We're going to pivot now to our next topic we're going to be discussing today, and it's another viral case going on where we got to go to South Carolina, where we have a convenience store owner who is just found not guilty for shooting a 14-year-old black kid in the back after he was falsely accused of stealing water from the store, where he was falsely accused of having a gun and he was shot in the back. He was just pronounced not guilty. So let's get over into that whole situation. A lot of people are talking about this case, but let's see what we can find out about it. Remember, y'all, the best way to show your support is always just to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you can be up to date on all the videos. Now we're going to start with the 3 years old, where they first announced the crime, and then we're going to get into the new stuff where he was found not guilty. So let's look at the old video first. Let's jump over into it and see what we can find out.
Fortunately, we have some breaking news to share with you.
We're starting in Richland County, where the Sheriff's Department has charged a gas station owner with murder in the shooting death of a 14-year-old boy. The incident happened last night around 8 on Spring Tree Drive off of Park Lane Road in Northeast Columbia.
Yeah, the coroner has now identified that boy as Cyrus Carmack Belton, and we do have team coverage tonight of this shooting, including a big community reaction. We're going to start with News 19's Becky Buds, who is live outside the Richland County Sheriff's Department with more. Becky?
Andrea, according to the Sheriff's Department, Rick Chow turned himself in just before 3 o'clock. Sheriff Lott says they conducted the investigation as quickly as possible and needed to get all of the facts straight before they charged the store owner.
A tragic incident occurred that the person responsible is being arrested and charged appropriately.
Richland County Sheriff Leon Lott announcing the arrest of a gas station owner who's been charged with murder for the shooting death of 14-year-old Cyrus Carmack Belton.
It's just one of these things, you just stand up here and you shake your head because you just don't. Just no reason for something like that to happen.
Lott says around 8 p.m. Sunday night, Carmack Belton went inside a Shell gas station on Park Lane Road near Spring Tree Drive. According to the sheriff, the owner, identified as Rick Chow, accused the teen of shoplifting bottles of water. However, Lott says the teen had put them back in the cooler. Lott stated after a verbal confrontation, Chow and his son chased Carmack Belton down the street. The teen fell, but got back up and ran. Authorities said Chow's son told his dad Carmack Belton was armed, and Chow shot Carmack Belton in the back as he was running away. According to Lott, Carmack Belton was armed with a gun, which was later recovered by deputies near his body. But they determined the gun was not pointed at the men and that the teen was shot in the back, facing away from them.
Okay, so that brings a lot more information to the situation. But it is the fact that he was running and shot in the back where I don't understand. Let's keep going.
Members like Sharon Pettigrew are in mourning.
Anytime a life is taken for no cause of something so simple, I'm going to protest and I'm going to speak up about it.
Chow is expected to appear in court tomorrow.
Now that we understand where it started, let's go over into the not guilty plea or not guilty judgment and see what all this was about.
We, the jury, unanimously find the defendant, Chi Rick Chow, as to the charge of murder, not guilty.
I don't care what that jury said. There is no justification for that. It should never happen again, and it is not open season on black people for anybody to feel like they should be able to do it because the jury found him not guilty.
Tonight, the verdict is in. After deliberating for nearly 8 hours, a jury has found Rick Chow not guilty of murder in the death of 14-year-old Cyrus Carmack Belton. And you just heard there from attorney Todd Rutherford, who is representing the Carmack Belton family. That jury finding Chow not guilty of murder in that shooting death. The verdict again coming nearly 8 hours after deliberations. News 19's Kiki Gushu is in studio tonight with more details. Kiki.
JR, for hours today, it appeared the jury was struggling with this case. They asked to hear definitions of malice and murder again, sent multiple notes to the judge, and at one point, some jurors indicated they were ready to go home. But Judge Heath Taylor kept them deliberating, saying the attention surrounding this case made him reluctant to stop the process once it has started. Then, just before 8:45 tonight, the court announced its verdict.
Indictment number 2023 GS 40-07440. State of South Carolina, County of Richland versus Chi Rick Chow. We, the jury, unanimously find the defendant, Chi Rick Chow, as to the charge of murder, not guilty. Fine number.
The verdict ended a day that began with emotional closing arguments. Prosecutors argued Cyrus Carmack Belton was a frightened child running for his life.
He died scared. He died bleeding to death. With Rick Chow's face being the last one he saw. He died surrounded by strangers.
The defense told jurors the state was ignoring what attorney Sean Kent called the rest of the story. He argued this case was not about a stolen bottle of water, but about a father trying to protect his son.
They made you think the great Rick Chow, this evil human being over here, killed a man over $1. And that is disgusting, that is awful, that is abhorrent, but that's not what happened.
After the verdict, family attorney Todd Rutherford said the family was devastated.
There is no way that a child who did nothing wrong, who is shot in his back, how that jury can justify that verdict. I've been practicing law for almost 30 years. I've never seen anything like this.
Now, I do wonder, I would like to know, I wish we had some surveillance footage. I don't know if they had some surveillance footage of inside of the store, exactly what was going on. That way, this could all be worked out, at least in my mind. But the main question is, how can you shoot somebody in the back that's running away? I thought that if they're running away, you're not supposed to shoot them in the back. But they said that he did have a gun on him, so I don't know if that played a part into it. Let's keep going into this.
Meanwhile, defense attorney Jack Swerling said the jury reached the correct decision.
Okay, we got somebody.
I just don't know what any parent would do otherwise. I mean, nobody wants to take anybody's life, but you're going to protect your children. You're going to protect yourself. You're going to protect your wife.
Well, I'm trying to figure out but protecting from what? He ran away from the store.
County jail tonight. The Belton family says it will continue pursuing a civil lawsuit, while the defense says the jury's verdict confirmed what they have argued from the start, that Chow acted to defend his son. The Belton's family attorney also called for calm tonight, urging people upset by the verdict to express their feelings peacefully. Live in studio, Kiki Gashu, News 19, WLTF.
Now, let's get over into the AI breakdown because I am confused. I mean, but you are innocent until proven guilty, and he was proven not guilty. So let's get over into the AI breakdown just to see if we can find out anything else that'll help me bring to understanding or help you as well. Let's get into it. So as we know, on June 1st, 2026, a South Carolina jury found the former convenience store owner not guilty of murder in the 2023 shooting of the 14-year-old. The shooting occurred on May 28, 2023 near a gas station. Chow and his son, Andy, falsely accused him of shoplifting 4 bottles of water. Surveillance video proved that the teen put the bottles back in the cooler and did not steal anything. All right. Following a verbal argument, he fled the store. Chow and his son armed themselves and chased the teen for more than 130 yards off the property. During the chase, the teenager fell. Andy Chow alerted his father that the boy had a gun. Then Chow fired a single shot into his back, which pierced his heart and killed him. Do you not feel like they created this situation? Now, if we already know that he did not steal it. It was proved on surveillance footage. They're chasing after him. For some reason, they're already armed. He falls. The son tells him that, he has a gun, and he shoots. I don't know if he convinced them that he turned around and was aiming the gun at them. But you have to remember, y'all, you have to be sure without a reasonable doubt. No, the only people there who are alive to tell about it is the son and the owner. So how can we know for sure? At least that's what I'm thinking, that I'm trying to bring some sense into what the jury was thinking. But how can we be sure that he didn't point the gun at them? But it still sounds crazy to me. But you shot him in the back. So The defense attorney argued that he acted in defense of his son. He testified that the teenager pointed a loaded 9mm semi-automatic pistol at him during the pursuit. Richland County prosecutors argued that he was running away and posing no threat when he was shot in the back. They noted that multiple independent witnesses saw nothing in the teen's hands while a gun was found near the boy's body. Prosecutors maintained it fell from his pocket when he tripped and was never pointed at anyone. 8 hours after deliberation, they came back and said that he is not guilty and that it falls under stand your ground law. So as we know, there's a lot of outrage going up, and it sparks protest. And the family members and local leaders are heavily criticizing the decision as a failure of justice. Following the criminal verdict, the family's attorney confirmed that he will continue to pursue a pending wrongful death civil lawsuit against him. Now, I for one, just hearing the evidence that we heard, I don't know if they heard something else, but I cannot say that he did not kill him. But this is a crazy situation, y'all. Let me know your thoughts on it, and let me know if you disagree with anything I said. That's a crazy situation, but we have to review this stuff together, y'all. Jesse, how you doing? How you doing? I see you in the chat, Mr. Anthony. Let's see what you said. Mr. Anthony responds to force did not seem reasonable. He deserves a fair trial in the Medicare. Family deserves justice. 100%. I agree 100% with you. Response to an altercation, you have to respond reasonably. That is the main thing we always talk about. But thank you for your comment. Let's keep going into this. The next topic we're going to be discussing today, y'all, is we have to go over into a crazy case that I found that happened out in Philadelphia, where we have 3 family members and a paid caregiver who have been all charged with murder or in the connection to a murder and dismemberment of a 53-year-old man. And he was found inside of a suitcase. It's a lot of details into this case that's very crazy. So let's get over into it and see what we can find out. Remember, y'all, the best way to show your support is always just to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. See, I almost got tongue twisted, and hit that notification bell. Let's get over into this and see what we can find out about this whole situation, y'all. Let's jump into it.
Breaking right now at 4 o'clock, 4 people have been arrested after a man's body was found inside a suitcase. Authorities announced the charges late this afternoon, nearly a week after that gruesome discovery in Kensington. It is Thursday afternoon. I'm Brian Taft.
And I'm Sarah Bloomquist. The big story on Action News is breaking at this hour as the district attorney just laid out the charges in this case. The victim has now been identified as 53-year-old Vincent Good of Northeast Philadelphia. We've just learned his girlfriend is among those who've been charged.
The Action News reporter Becca Hendrickson live now in Center City with more on what authorities just revealed about this case, Becca.
Brian and Sarah, this suspect was not only described as his girlfriend, but his paid caretaker, too. Good was an amputee who, according to the district attorney's office, needed care. And police say his girlfriend, 53-year-old, Liza Ridley, is accused of killing him and then taking a lift to get rid of his body. That Lyft driver was crucial in breaking this case. Take a look at some of our video. This is 53-year-old Vincent Good from Northeast Philadelphia. He was a double amputee whose family says he was funny and kind. He was found dead in a suitcase in Kensington last week. The district attorney's office says Good's girlfriend and caretaker, 53-year-old Liza Ridley, is facing homicide charges for his death. Investigators say she confessed to shooting him in the head. 3 other people are also facing charges. Ridley's sister, 55-year-old Bernadette Ridley, is charged with abuse of a corpse. And Liza's daughter, 32-year-old Liza Robinson, and her boyfriend, 33-year-old Naz Daniel, are also facing charges. Police say Good was found last Friday on the 600 block of East Hilton Street in Kensington. A person looking for scrap metal found his torso in a suitcase. The medical examiner says Good died from multiple gunshot wounds. Police also recovered human remains in trash bags. The investigation led police to Good in his apartment on the 5700 block of Leonard Street in Northeast Philadelphia yesterday. Neighbors say the apartment had a history of chaotic domestic violence. The district attorney said, here's what cracked the case. a Lyft driver. She believes she drove Ridley with the body in the suitcase from the Northeast to where the body was found in Kensington the Thursday before it was found.
It be your own family members, girlfriend, sister. We are living in a simulation, that feels like sometimes. But they dismembered him, and then the woman had the gall to take a lift to help dispose of the body. Godly. Let's keep going into this. Let's go over into, let's see, what else we gotta go? Let's keep going into this.
The bag that she took was placed in the back of that Lyft vehicle. The Lyft driver immediately smelled a horrible smell, asked about the smell. The answer to that question was, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's dirty, wet clothes." In response to that, she didn't say anything. She finished the Lyft drive, dropped off the individual, took a picture of her because she thought it was so odd, everything about it.
That was critical again in solving this case. Police do believe Good was killed more than 2 weeks ago, and this odor coming from that suitcase was very strong. His body is being sent to a forensic anthropologist to try to determine that exact time of death. Now, investigators do believe that money from Social Security checks may have been a motivation here. Again, Ridley was also considered Good's paid caretaker.
It all comes down to the Social Security money. We've seen it several times. Family member ends up letting them die or killing them, in this case, trying to hide the death. So the Social Security money and whatever money else they get keeps rolling in and falling into the account. And then they try to live their life. But luckily somebody found it, and luckily these people have been charged. Let's get over to this next video and see what else we can find out.
First at 5, one tip leads to 4 arrests in a crime that put an entire neighborhood on edge. I'm Yuki Washington.
And I'm Theophilus in for Natasha Brown. There is a lot of talk about a disturbing discovery in a Kensington alley last week. A man's body was found inside a suitcase, and now we're learning that one of the people arrested was in charge of caring for that man. CBS News Philadelphia's Joe Holden joins us tonight with much more. And Joe, it seems someone out there knew something wasn't quite right.
That's right. Good evening to you. So prosecutors say a woman with a suitcase orders a lift. Once that lift does arrive, the driver of the lift sensed something was suspicious with that suitcase. She not only called 911 later after seeing the story on the news, but she also snapped a picture of the woman in that suitcase. It would later turn out there was a torso inside.
The Lyft driver immediately smelled a horrible smell, asked about the smell. The answer to that question was, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's dirty, wet clothes."
Well, police say the woman with the suitcase was the caretaker and girlfriend of Vincent Good, a 53-year-old man. Police say she ordered that lift last Thursday. The suitcase discovered the following day on Friday. It's alleged she shot him at least once in the head inside Good's apartment at 5700 Leonard Street in Frankfurt. Investigators believe the caretaker and girlfriend, Liza Ridley's motive could be to collect on Vincent Good's Social Security benefits. He was an amputee, according to prosecutors, and used a wheelchair to get around. His time of death, while not clear, may have been weeks ago. Neighbors describing a turbulent relationship.
She used to beat him, abuse him all the time.
What would you hear?
Stop it. One time, last summer, he yelled at me, "Please call the cops. Jim, please call the cops." And I did, but I guess he didn't want to do nothing about it.
Wow, it can go both ways, y'all. We have to consider that. Domestic abuse can happen between to a man or a woman. And it's sad that the majority of the time the victims do not, well, I don't know about the majority of the time, that was just something me saying, but a lot of times the victim never admits it, and they just keep going about it until eventually they end up dead or killed. If you are being abused, tell somebody to get it to stop. I know you think that they love you. I think you're doing it because they love you, however else you're thinking, but it's wrong no matter how you look at it. Let's keep going into this and finish up this video.
Liza Ridley's older sister, her daughter, and her daughter's boyfriend tonight all also facing charges of evidence tampering. Prosecutors say Liza Ridley has made a full confession. Investigators say they are still working to develop a particular pinpoint motive, but they do believe there was an aspect of a financial incentive. Tonight, court dockets do not list an attorney for any of the defendants. We're live in Center.
All for a social security check. The world's a crazy place, y'all. The world's a crazy place. Let's go over into the AI breakdown just to see if we missed anything. So as we know, 4 people, including a paid caregiver and 3 of her family members, have been charged in connection with the murder of and dismemberment of 53-year-old Vincent Good, whose remains were discovered in a suitcase and trash bags in Philadelphia. Liza Ridley, the girlfriend and paid home health aide, according to the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office, confessed to shooting Good, who was a double amputee in the head inside of their northeastern apartment. She allegedly enlisted 3 of her relatives to dismember the body and cover up the crime. So we have the 3 people who have been charged. Lisa, 53, charged with murder, possession of an instrument of crime, abuse of a corpse, obstruction of justice, and tampering with evidence, and conspiracy. We got Bernadette, the sister, 55, charged with abuse of a corpse, tampering with evidence, obstruction of justice, conspiracy to allegedly helping dismember and conceal a body. We got Lisa, 32, the daughter, charged with tampering with evidence, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy for allegedly assisting in the crime scene cleanup. And then lastly, we got Guinness, I might be saying the name wrong, doesn't matter, the boyfriend of the daughter. He's not even family, he's stupid. Charged with tampering with evidence, obstruction of justice, conspiracy for his alleged role in the cleanup. You drag your family down with you after you kill somebody. You however you want to say it. I guess I'm not that good of a family member, because don't be calling me for anything stupid now. So the body was discovered, and we got the alleyways where the torso was discovered, and then we got additional bags that were immediately found during the search. Investigators believe he was killed more than 2 weeks ago. As we know, the main lead that led to the arrest is the Lyft driver, where she ended up smelling a foul odor and then getting photographic evidence to help make some charges. It's a crazy situation, y'all, but the majority of it is all because of Social Security. The main thing was she wanted to keep that finances running in. She was already an abusive partner to begin with. We got evidence heard from the neighbor. She was already abusive. And when he died, she tried to cover it up. Or when she killed him, she tried to cover it up, enlisted her family members, ruined their lives, and all to keep some Social Security checks going. Now, I'm assuming since he was shot in the head, or at least that's what they think, it definitely wasn't like a thing of anger where he like died from his abuse or her abusing him. She wanted to kill him. But it's a crazy situation, y'all. And now her family is going down the wrong path with her. And the boyfriend of the daughter, that's absolutely crazy, y'all. Let me know your thoughts on that situation. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said. That's a crazy situation. We're going to pivot now to this next topic and we got to go over into the UK, where we have an 18-year-old who was ended up being accused of racism and left to die. Yes. The world is a crazy place, y'all. The world is a very crazy place. Let's get over into this. We got 2 videos to look at. And then, of course, we'll go over into the AI breakdown just to find out a little bit more information, y'all. Remember, y'all, the best way to show your support is always just to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you can be up to date on all the videos. Let's jump into it.
He keeps dropping side to side, so I'm just trying to keep him set up.
Alright.
He's got a mouthful of blood. I don't want him.
He was on the bin on the other side of this keep.
He's jumped over these fences and stuff like that. And he's up here.
Move away, mate.
He's obviously fallen from there and he slipped from there.
There's other shooters left over there, mate. What's your name, mate? Huh? Has anyone been hurt other than him?
Yeah, me. He's grabbed my brother. He's took my turban off. Started grabbing my head.
Are you injured?
Yeah, I've got swollen eye, little bruises.
Alright, just step back a little bit for me. Someone flag these down.
I've been stabbed.
Right, let's get you out of there, shall we?
I was in bed asleep. Whenever just found me up there.
This is a wild situation. Let's keep going.
I can't breathe.
Grab his other arm. What's happened to you, alright? You've been stabbed? Whereabouts? I don't think you have, mate.
Now, is this normal procedure? You if he said he's been stabbed, you don't check? You immediately cuff him? Well, let's keep going.
Hand.
I can't breathe.
Put the hand in the cuff, mate.
Yeah. This is like the times this has happened to us. We've been walking, we parked multiple times. We've had people racist attacks, nothing happens.
He's saying he's been stabbed, so
Where
let's
is it
just
you
check
think
him.
you've been stabbed? In the face? Oh no, but we have to check, don't we?
No.
In the face?
How are they just going to believe? Like you heard the dude in the back. I'm assuming he's the person who either was with the stabber or the stabber himself said, "Oh, he hasn't been stabbed." I don't know why.
Just get these to back off, get their details on that, and I'll keep hold of him. Right, keep you on your side, mate. You better retrieve then. Saying to him, keeping him on his side. We were sat up when we had him here, but he didn't like it. What's your name, mate?
No sleep,
At the moment,
no
you are under
car,
arrest.
nothing.
That's for assault, so you do not have to say anything, may harm in defence. If you do not mention when questioned, it's up to which you later rely in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence, alright? It's going to be sick, I think. I just want you to call it.
Yeah, we've got this male. He's
just
been beat up. Are we able to get an ambulance, please? His pupils aren't even reacting.
Nothing. It was like they didn't even care what he was doing. Let's get over into the actual news article.
We'll go now to the UK, where a court has jailed 23-year-old Vikram Digwa for life after he fatally stabbed an 18-year-old university student with a large blade that he claimed to carry for religious reasons. He's a Sikh. Now, the UK police, after sustained pressure, have released the following footage, a warning. Some of you may find it disturbing.
Hand.
I can't breathe.
Put the hand in the cuff, mate.
This is like the times.
There he is.
Now, we just looked at that footage. Tell me what your thoughts are. Let's keep going into this, though.
Is handcuffed after he was stabbed. Significant backlash for the police, the way they've handled that. They initially believed the killer's false account that he was being racially abused. Here to discuss it, Sky News contributor and News Corp European correspondent Sophie Ellsworth. Sophie, the family of Henry Novak, that's the young man who was killed, Nowak, I should say, have laid fault for their son's death squarely with police, and his father spoke to the media. Have a listen.
Henry was pulled across the gravel, his hands forced behind his back, and he was placed in handcuffs. Instead of being treated as a dying victim, police formally arrested Henry for assault and read him his rights. That was the last thing he heard.
This has been huge news for some time in the UK, but the last 2 or 3 days, honestly, I've seen nothing but people reacting to this, Soph.
Well, Peter, that vision there is incredibly disturbing. It's broadcast all over the media here. Talkback radio this morning has been flooded with callers furious at the handling of this case by the British police, and that matter is now before the police watchdog. But Peter, this is incredibly concerning that people are allowed in this country to carry these extremely large knives for what they claim is religious reasons. And Nigel Farage has been on radio this morning discussing this and really saying that there is two-tier policing here in the UK. And unfortunately for white people, they're being treated lesser than black people here in the UK. That is the argument that he's making, and he's very concerned about the rising migration here. So there's a whole raft of issues that have been brought to the fore here as a result of this terribly sad case, Peter.
Now, I don't know if it's a race, is it kind of like black versus white or black, whatever the races are. The main problem is the police procedure. Sounds like they just went with what they heard. Okay, he was attacked. He messed him up. They didn't do it. They didn't separate them. They didn't put both of them apart. They didn't try to figure out what was going on with him, immediately get an ambulance and figure out what was happening. It just seems like they were just going with whatever the other person said and not doing an investigation on themselves. But at least it seems like the police procedure is wrong. Now, are they buying too much into if it's a racial issue and they look too much towards that instead of doing an investigation? It's possible. Nobody wants to get on the bad side of any minority nowadays. It's just how it is. Jewish, how it is for black, how it is for anything like that. The main thing is that they should have done an investigation in the first place. I don't know about the racial tensions that's happening in this area, but the whole police procedure seems wrong. But let's keep going into this.
Yeah, good of you to mention Nigel Farage. I've got that clip that you mentioned there from his response this morning. Let's have a listen.
Henry's family have responded to this in just the most extraordinarily dignified way. But I suggest the rest of us respond to this with pure, cold rage. This is wrong. All the values and standards of living in a free country where everybody is judged equally before the law have been trashed and thrown away.
Yeah, there's been an exemption in many places for Sikhs to have these ceremonial knives, but they're still a weapon. They still work, as you can obviously see in the case of this young man. And of course, when you make a distinction for one religion to carry a weapon, I think Nigel's point in the rest of that interview goes on. Where does that end, Sophie? So you've got almost nothing from the Prime Minister. I find that extraordinary too, because the accusation by the killer was that this bloke was a racist, so they arrest the young man dying. But Keir Starmer and all these Labor MPs who took a knee for George Floyd when he died at the hands of police in the US, well, they are silent on this.
Well, Keir Starmer has said that this matter should be taken to the police watchdog. But yes, Peter, he has largely said very little about this. Now, this is the British Prime Minister, as you just referenced, who took the knee for George Floyd. And we are not seeing that in the UK. We saw the Winston Churchill statue graffiti during that time. We saw so many protests, not a single thing here in the UK. And interestingly, Peter, that interview with Nigel Farage in the last hour was not broadcast on any of the main TV networks. They were pointing this out on radio this morning. They're not even taking Nigel Farage on this. Now, this has been another leader, one of the other parties they would have. And that just shows the huge divide here in Britain now. And I think this case will only get more and more attention as the days roll on by media who are giving it the service that it deserves. Because, Peter, this is incredibly serious. this young man, in his final moments, he was being read his legal rights as he lay on a footpath or on the pavement dying. And that is incredibly concerning.
That's a crazy thing to think about. Imagine lying on the ground, bleeding out. You know you did nothing wrong. You know you did nothing wrong. I don't know. I'm assuming he did. He didn't do anything racist, but you, in general, you know you didn't do anything wrong. But you're trying to explain that you've been stabbed. You need some help, and the person who stabbed you is just sitting there la-di-da while they start reading you your rights, and that's the last thing you hear. That's crazy to me.
It's horrific, Sophie. We'll leave it there.
After a week of intense confrontation.
Absolutely crazy situation, y'all. Let's go over into the AI breakdown just to find out a little bit more information and finish it up. So as we know Henry, so that was the dude, the student, the 18-year-old Polish university student, was stabbed by victim, 23-year-old, which happened in England on December 3rd, 2025. The case has provoked widespread national outrage and political debate across the United Kingdom due to the highly controversial police body cam footage showing officers handcuffing and arresting the student as he lay dying on the street. On December 3rd, a first-year finance student at the University of Southampton was walking back alone from the night out of with a football teammates. He crossed paths with Bertram on the road following a brief interaction, partially captured on his phone. The killer attacked him, stabbing him and cutting him 5 times. The weapon was a 21 centimeter, 8-inch long traditional blade. He carried 2 ceremonial knives that night, claiming they were part of his Sith faith. I might be saying that wrong. Though the social geological experts testified in court that carrying a blade of that size was not strict requirements of the religion itself. He attempted to escape over the fence but collapsed on the pavement due to a fatal wound to the heart. When officers arrived, he fabricated a narrative to protect himself. He falsely claimed that he was the victim of a racial motivated assault, alleging that a drunk student had punched him and knocked off his turban. Believing his account, the police officers approached the bleeding teenagers. Released in the body cam footage shows the sequence of events. He told the officers, "I've been stabbed and I can't breathe." A male officer responded to his plea saying, "Don't think you have, mate." Officers rolled him onto the front, handcuffed him behind his back, placing him under arrest for assault. He repeatedly said that he could not breathe 7 times before losing consciousness. His last words were, "Please, brother, I can't breathe." Only after that he became completely unresponsive, the officers removed the handcuffs, called the ambulance, and attempted CPR. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Meanwhile, police officers afforded the killer decency, leaving him uncuffed at the scene and allowing him to speak with his brother, who advised him to claim self-defense. Post-toxicology later confirmed that the student was not heavily intoxicated with alcohol levels below the legal drinking and drive limit. So the trial took place in Southampton Crown Court, where prosecutors dismantled the self-defense claim, labeling them as a wicked lie meant to exploit fears of racial bias. Evidence also showed that the student filmed the attack as he lay bleeding on the ground, which the judge cited as aggravating factors. So he was convicted of murder and carrying a knife in public on May 28th, 2026. On June 1st, 2026, he was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 21 years. So we got the mother was convicted of assisting the offender after the CCTV caught her removing the murder weapon from the scene and hiding it at the family home. She's scheduled to be sentenced July 17th, 2026. Mothers love to do what they can for their sons. And then we have the father and brother. They face separate court appearances on weapon charges after police uncovered an arsenal in their home, including machetes, sword, and knuckle dusters. Wow. So the release of the body cam has triggered massive political fallout. The family condemned the police handling of the inhuman, calling it inhuman and degrading, pointing out the agonizing contrast between how his dying son was treated and the killer. The prime minister stated he felt sick watching the footage and emphasized that there are serious questions regarding how the accusations of racism informed decision makings at the scene. Home Secretary called the murder an act of pure evil. Right-wing political figures, including these different people, Elon Musk and Clores, seized on the case and argued that the British police are paralyzed by fear of being labeled racist, leading to two-tier policing, where minorities' accusations are prioritized over white victims. What are your thoughts, y'all? What are your thoughts on that situation? Protesters and incurious, so massive protests, public backlash have sparked protests outside of the police station. One involved police officers has since resigned from his duties. The Independent Office of Public Conduct is conducting an ongoing investigation into the response of the officers. Now, that's a big claim. Do you think that the fear of being called a racist, the fear of being labeled as one, is made these officers do and prioritize the fact that it could have been a racist act? That he was being a racist and targeted someone just surely because of his race. It's a crazy situation, but he deserved better. We gotta call it how it is. The students deserved better. They immediately got onto the scene and figured that he was guilty. They didn't even consider in their minds that he could be a victim. And that is the problem. But let me know your thoughts on that situation, y'all. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said. That is it. But that is it for the show today, y'all. We talked about a lot of crazy things, 4 things. But let me know if you disagree with anything I said. I'm never going to say I know everything. I'm never going to say I'm always right. But I'm willing to have these types of discussions. Remember, the best way to show your support is always just to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you can be up to date on all the videos. Now, of course, these videos will be broken down so you can go back and watch the one you want. But let me know your thoughts, y'all. This is a crazy world we live in, and we have to review this stuff together. But y'all already know, I will see y'all again tomorrow with more topics for us to discuss. But let me know your thoughts, y'all. Let's jump over into it. But that's it for now. You already know I got to play that outro. Peace.